Alright folks, it's time to get inside the funnel. Welcome to the first official episode of the season. The pilot is in the books, Portal Polytechnic fixed the button, raised a banner, and reminded us all that making something visible on a phone is good, even when the celebration gets a little too close to parade behavior. Now, the real cycle begins. It is July. Applications open in August. Everybody says they are ready, which is usually the first sign that they are not, in fact, ready. Tonight, we are setting the board for the year ahead. We have schools entering the cycle with big plans, bad habits, polished dashboards, quiet strengths, and at least one aid strategy that appears to have been assembled during a budget panic. CRM State has open preseason camp with dashboards for everything, including possibly dashboards about dashboards. Pell Grant A&M is staying quiet, which should worry the louder schools. Coupon State has promised discipline around discounting, which is a sentence that has harmed many spreadsheets. Prestige U is already preparing to release an admit rate so low it may require scientific notation. And Portal Polytechnic is back after the button fix, insisting that the student experience has turned a corner, even though the corner leads to another login screen. Tonight, we will reveal the first mascot of the season from the Fieldsmiths Register to mascots. We will check the ACES injury report before the cycle even starts, and we'll light the inquiry lantern to see which schools are chasing real interest and which schools are just buying noise. And later in the film room, we will preview how to build the adaptive cycle before the chaos arrives. Because July is not dead time, July is where the season is built. Let's go to the big board. The big board tonight is about preseason readiness. This is the point of the cycle where schools should be locking down definitions, testing forms, checking communication paths, preparing event logic, aligning admissions and aid, and deciding who is actually going to own each part of the student experience. And that last part matters, because one of the most dangerous phrases in enrollment is "we are ready." Ready means different things depending on who says it. Marketing may mean the campaigns are scheduled. Admissions may mean the applicant is open. And financial aid may mean that they are waiting on data. IT may mean the page loaded during testing. Leadership, of course, may mean that they saw a slide and liked the colors. Those are not the same thing. July is where you find those gaps before students find them for you. This week, CRM State is getting a lot of preseason attention. They have built reports for inquiry flow, event participation, app starts, source tracking, counselor activity, and even early funnel pacing. On paper, that looks strong. The issue is whether the reports actually lead to decisions. A dashboard that nobody acts on is just office decor with filters.
One is always pleased to see preparation. One becomes less pleased when preparation consists of counting objects no one intends to govern.
And that is, of course, Leonard Aidtab, already disappointed and somehow overdressed through the phone. But Leonard is right. The point is not to have a beautiful reporting stack. The point is to know what each signal should trigger. If app starts lagging, who acts? If event registrations rise from the wrong population, who notices? If aid questions spike before packages are ready, who owns that response? And if the portal traffic rises and completion does not, who checks whether the path is broken? That is the July work.
And if the answer is we'll discuss it at the next standing meeting, then congratulations, you have built a museum for delayed decisions.
And that is our Corey Smith Ulrich, entering the season in regular form. And yes, that is the test. A July plan should not just say what you will measure, it should say what you will do when the measures move. CRM State has a real chance this season. They have the infrastructure, they have dashboards, they have people who care about process. That can become adaptive enrollment management. It can also become a shiny swamp. The difference is whether CRM State knows which metrics matter and what actions follow. Pell Grant A&M is less loud. Their prep is less flashy. The early read is that when they have cleaner communication rules, clearer ownership, and stronger alignment between admissions and aid. Well, that can just be a boring July, but that is dangerous in April.
A quiet system with clear owners will beat a loud system with 4 to 7 charts. Every chart asks for attention. but only a few deserve it.
Thank you, Silas. And that might actually be the whole episode. July is not about noise. July is about readiness. And readiness means the system can sense, decide, act, and learn before the cycle starts throwing punches. So let's bring in the rest of our analyst desk for our first official crossfire of the season. The question tonight is simple. What is the biggest mistake schools make before applications open? Leonard, start us off.
The largest error is confusing preparation with procurement. New tools, new dashboards, new vendors, new templates, all very exciting, but none of it guarantees judgment.
So, in Leonard's view, tools do not save weak discipline.
Precisely, though I would have said it with more dignity. Dignity is what people invoke when the process still does not work. I suspected you would arrive in poor taste, and I suspected you would blame the fault before the logic.
Good. We are back in prime inside the funnel. Harak, your answer.
The biggest mistake is leaving ownership vague. Everyone supports the student journey. Lovely. But who fixes the broken skip at 8:17 on a Thursday when the form starts eating submissions?
That is the practical version.
It's the only version that matters. May I add something?
Please do, Crispin.
In 2016, or perhaps 2017, we had a similar readiness issue involving a form, a campaign, and an unfortunate field called Student Interest Final Backup Old. Everyone thought someone else owned it, but no one did. By October, we had built 3 workarounds and a culture of fear.
That took a turn.
Most things do when no one documents them. I will put it this way. A school that cannot name the owner of a signal is not ready to use the signal. It's just collecting weather and refusing to close the windows.
And there it is. I think that's the crossfire lesson today. Before applications open, define the signal, define the owner, and define the action. Define the review point even. If you skip that work in July, September will make you pay interest. It's time for the fields registered to mascots, where we take what a school is doing and reveal the enrollment that best captures its current behavior. Tonight's first mascot reveal is the official season goes to CRM State. CRM State came into July with reports, dashboards, filters, charts, comparisons, breakdowns, and at least one executive view that probably should have remained a draft. The school is counting everything, and that is by no means automatically bad. The problem is that when counting is not the same thing as understanding. So, tonight, CRM State has earned its preseason mascot, the Metricub. It's a signal type enrollment, and it represents the raw measurement without enough meaning. It's attracted to large datasets, shiny dashboards, and unused reports. The risk is mistaking reporting for learning. The counterpath is the Correlon, and then the inside recs. Metricub is charming. Metricub is useful. Metricub means well. Metricub also loves piles of numbers before anyone has decided what the numbers are supposed to do. The Fieldsmith Register describes Metricub as a creature drawn to dashboards, portals, reports, and shiny piles of raw signal. It's not malicious. It just believes that more data means more understanding, which, let's be frank, is exactly how a school ends up with 47 reports and no decision rhythm. And that's CRM State right now. They're not doomed. They may actually be well ahead of the field. but they are standing at a fork. One path leads to adaptive intelligence. The other leads to cabinets asking for another cut of the same metric because the first one made them feel uncomfortable. The Metricub lesson is that data only gains power when shaped into narrative, connected to behavior, and tied to action. And that's the actual preseason warning. If CRM State wants to evolve past the Metricub, it has to do 4 things. 1. Define which metrics matter. 2. Explain what each metric means in plain language. 3. Connect each metric to a decision. And 4. Review whether the action actually worked. Otherwise, the mascot sticks. And when Metricub populations grow unchecked, every meeting starts with a chart and ends with someone asking for a different chart.
Metricub is a sweet little thing, until leadership starts feeding it praise. Then it grows fat on totals and forgets to ask why.
And that is why Silas gets the mascot clothes here today. CRM State has the tools, and now we find out whether it has the discipline. Let's check the Enrollment Aces injury report, because the season has not started and staff are already carrying 6 systems, 3 launch calendars, and a leadership request labeled Quick Question. So first up, we have our slate captain. Status, probable. Condition, workflow tightness after late rule changes. Slate wizard. Status, day-to-day. Condition, portal logic fatigue. Marketing maven. Status, probable. Condition, campaign calendar swelling. The coach. Status, active. Condition, saying students need urgency too early in the season. The architect. Status, questionable. Condition, ownership map not fully drawn. The wildcard. Status, unknown. Condition, last seen renaming segments. Data Knight. Status, limited practice. Condition, dashboard overload from CRM Slate preseason build. The fixer. Status, active. Overused. Condition, already solving problems that were marked complete. Trend tracker. Status, probable. Condition, suspicious of all the July confidence. TechWiz. Status, active. Condition, still recovering from Portal Polytechnic's preseason button ceremony. The big story here is Data Knight. At CRM State, Data Knight has been asked to support a reporting suite that now includes every possible view of early funnel activity. That sounds powerful until someone asks which view is true.
Ah, yes, the old problem of many numbers and no throne. I've seen 3 reports disagree and each claim seniority.
And that is a very Crispin way to describe dashboard governance. The benchmark key demands pure comparison before the cycle begins. Sir Render requests fewer pie charts and 1 clean trend line. Count Responsula asks whether open rates should be ranked weekly. The crown figure says the portal settings are technically correct. And Her Timeliness, the Duchess of Cadence, has asked everyone to stop sending August messages in July. A strong ruling from the Duchess. And the ACE's lesson is simple. Staff pain often starts when leadership asks for adaptive behavior without giving staff adaptive structure. If every signal becomes a fire drill, the team burns out before the cycle even starts. The school that wins this season will not just ask staff to move faster. They're actually going to build the conditions that let staff act clearly.
If your whole strategy depends on the fixer saving you every Thursday, you don't have a strategy. You've got a hostage situation with calendar and invites.
Strong, fair, and probably personal for a lot of people. This week's instrument of perpetual flex is the Inquiry Lantern. The Inquiry Lantern glows when real curiosity appears. It flickers when schools confuse purchase names with interest. It goes almost completely dark when someone says, "We need more inquiries." And no one actually asks where those inquiries came from or what they actually did next. July is the right month for this instrument because a lot of schools are about to enter the cycle, pretending the top of the funnel is healthier than it actually is. Search name flow is not what it used to be. organic interest matters more, student behavior is less linear, and families are more skeptical. The inquiry poll is not just a volume problem, it's a meaning problem. Coupon State wants to buy more names. Prestige U wants to count attention as demand. And Pell Grant A&M wants to understand where curiosity becomes action. The lower Midwest directional wants to know why a transfer interest dies out after credit questions. And that last one is a warning. The inquiry lantern does not reward noise. It rewards real signals of curiosity. The right July question is not how many names do we have? The better question is, where is real interest appearing? And what are we doing with it?
Yes, it is somewhat unfashionable to say this, but perhaps one should avoid purchasing names merely to feel taller. That may be the first useful short sentence Leonard's ever produced in any season. We are on episode 1. And yet the data's clear.
The analyst desk is already in mid-season form. The inquiry lantern is now active for the season. We will track who follows real interest and who chases the glow. Now it's time for the independent subquery, where we inspect the thing the main report did not want to explain. Tonight's claim comes from the CRM State. Dashboard readiness is strong. That sounds good. The subquery asks for a different question. Do the dashboards have actions attached? And there it is. The problem is not that CRM State has too much data. The problem is that the data is ahead of the operating model. You can have every report loaded and still not be ready if no one knows what happens when a signal changes. Let's bring the desk back in.
CRM State has mistaken visibility for governance, a common ailment among institutions that enjoy dashboards more than decisions. Leonard's being polite again. They built a cockpit and forgot to assign a pilot.
And that is clear.
In older systems, we had fewer reports and still managed to argue for an hour. Progress appears to have given us more places to argue from.
And that's also clear, somehow.
A dashboard without an action rule is a porch light in daytime. It may be on, but it's not helping.
And that's the subquery. CRM State is not wrong to build the reporting stack. They are wrong if they think that the stack is the strategy. The educational point here matters for every school. Before the application opens, every high-value signal needs 4 attachments. 1, what it means. 2, who owns it. 3, what action follows. And 4, when the team reviews whether that action worked. That is adaptive work. It's also the difference between watching the cycle and running the cycle. Tonight's episode of Inside the Funnel is brought to you by Metricub Chow. Is your dashboard hungry? Do your reports look a little thin? Are your meetings suffering from a dangerous shortage of uncontextualized totals? Try Metricub Chow, now with 40% more raw counts, duplicate filters, and executive confidence. Metricub Chow, feed the dashboard, starve the insight. Side effects may include metric bloat, chart fatigue, and one vice president asking whether the numbers can be made more favorable by Friday. Coming up next on the film room, we are talking about building your persona engine. July is where the whole season starts to take shape. And one of the smartest things a team can do before the cycle gets loud is to figure out who they are actually trying to understand. This film room session is about turning scattered student information into living personas that can guide the way you recruit, communicate, travel, and plan. That means defining personas like the students you know are already in your world, building the tags and logic that help you recognize them, and use existence, comparison, aggregates, and distant calculations to turn raw slate data into something strategically useful. Because that's the point. Adaptive enrollment management is not just about reacting quickly. It's about seeing patterns early enough to act with intention. In this session, we look at how personas become more than labels. They become the foundation for outreach, counselor focus, travel planning, dashboards, and even later modeling work when the cycle gets more complicated. We're going to define the persona, build the tagging logic, turn experts into strategy, and use personas to guide action. That's up next in the film room. If CRM State wants to evolve past the Metricub, this is where it starts. Check the show notes for the link. Time for our first official Inside the Funnel power ranking of the season. This is not headcount ranking. It's not prestige ranking. This is not ranking of who made the prettiest slide in July. This is a ranking of who looks most prepared to adapt across the cycle. CRM State at number 1. Yes, CRM State takes the top spot for now. The infrastructure is real, the reports are ready, the questions are obvious. They are number 1 because potential matters in July, and they will fall fast if the Metricub keeps eating all the meeting. Number 2, Pell Grant A&M. Quiet, clear, and disciplined. This is the school I would watch. They are not winning the noise battle. That may be why they are positioned well, though. Number 3, Portal Polytechnic. The button fix from the old pilot still counts. The path still needs work. Portal confidence remains higher than portal evidence. Number 4, Coupon State. Strong ambition, dangerous instincts. Promises of discount discipline have been made. We'll see how long those survive contact with enrollment targets. Number 5, Prestige U. High readiness, low humility. Prestige U always looks prepared because the market gives them room to be inefficient and just call it a tradition.
A CRM State starts at number 1 because the barn is full of tools. Whether anybody knows how to build with them remains an open question.
And I think Silas here has the whole season in one sentence yet again. The final whistle tonight. July is not empty space. July is actually where you decide whether the cycle will be adaptive or reactive. If your school has reports with no owners, messages with no rules, dashboards with no actions, and meetings with no decision rights, then the cycle has already started making choices for you. The school that will win this year will not be the ones that simply collect the most signal. They'll be the ones that know what to do with it when they have them. CRM State has the early lead. Pell Grant A&M is lurking. And, of course, Portal Polytechnic is still arguing with its own path. Coupon State is promising restraint, and Prestige U is polishing that decimal point. And the inquiry lantern is lit. I am David Dysart, and this has been Inside the Funnel. Thanks for getting inside the funnel with me. Before we go, one note from the control room. There is a development memo circulating with the working title Aid tab tonight.
Outrageous. For the record, I have neither endorsed nor authorized such a venture, though I will say the title has poise. You said that way too fast. Who wrote the memo?
Unclear. Leonard has not confirmed involvement, though.
Oh, because there's nothing to confirm. That's not a denial, and that's a whole way answer. I have seen paper like this before. Or something near it, at least. Maybe in 2009. Possibly 1997. There was a seal. Or a bird. No, wait, that was a parking citation. Check the attachment.
There was no attachment.
Then that tells you something, too. It tells me Leonard made a fake memo and forgot to file it. I do not forget files. I delegate them.
Leonard also requested better lighting when I asked him about this earlier, despite the fact that we were off the air still.
I requested fairness. Bad lighting distorts the face and invites class resentment. You're standing next to the coffee machine. Oh, the machine had excellent warmth. Could have been an interview set. In older offices, many things were.
Halrick just chatted me, requesting a source file?
Also, the revision history, author record, export trail, and whatever painter coughed this thing into existence. You investigate gossip with the intensity of a failed empire. Again, check the attachment.
There is still no attachment.
That's becoming the whole story. Was the memo folded? A folded memo means ambition. A branded memo means vanity. A successful memo means leadership.
And that's where we will leave it. We will follow the story as it develops. Thank you for joining Inside the Funnel today, and we'll see you next time.